Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going deep into the Italian automotive industry,
Oh,
specifically Stellantis. You guys sent in a bunch of really interesting stuff for this one. Interviews, articles,
hmm
even some internal communications. It's a lot.
Yeah,
So what we want to try to do is uncover some of those surprising insights and maybe, navigate these different viewpoints about the industry's future,
yeah,
the role of government, what it means for the workers.
yeah. It seems like one of the big things is this interview with Giuseppe Macca,
Yeah.
Stellantis' head of HR, and Carlo Calenda,
Oh, yeah.
the Italian politician.
It's a heated one.
Yeah.
To understand what's going on, I think we got to back up a bit. Can you give us some context on Stellantis and its relationship with the Italian government?
Absolutely. Stellantis, as you probably know, is this global giant, right?
Hmm.
Formed from a merger that included Fiat Chrysler
Right.
and a company with a long history in Italy. Over the years, Fiat Chrysler received significant government support, and now Stellantis is facing criticism for job losses, factory closures in Italy, and shifting production to other countries.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of tension.
Yeah, and that tension is palpable in this interview. Like, Calenda really doesn't hold back. He's accusing Stellantis of basically taking the money and running.
He is.
Yeah.
Calenda's argument is that Stellantis made promises, right, to maintain jobs and production in Italy in exchange for that support,
Yeah.
and now he sees those promises being broken.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though, because Manca, on the other hand,
Yeah.
insists that Stellantis is just responding to a changing industry, especially with this push for electric vehicles coming from the EU.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit. The EU has mandated this shift to electric vehicles, but it seems like there's pushback from the industry. Is it really as simple as just Stellantis following the rules?
It's a bit more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
The EU has set these targets for electric vehicles,
Yeah.
right, and fines for not meeting them.
Right.
But this is where we get to those conflicting viewpoints you mentioned. Some people argue, as Manca does, that the market might not be ready for such a rapid shift.
Yeah.
There are concerns about cost. Electric vehicles are still more expensive.
Right.
Then you got the lack of infrastructure.
Yeah.
In Italy, the charging network isn't as developed as it probably needs to be.
Yeah, and of course you have the consumer behavior piece, right? People are used to gas-powered cars.
Mhm.
It's a big change to switch to electric.
It is.
Oh.
And I remember Manca using this analogy. It was like children preferring their familiar toys, the gas-powered cars, to the new ones, the electric vehicles,
Right.
to kind of illustrate this.
It's a good point. It might be a little oversimplified,
Yeah,
but it does get at that challenge of changing consumer habits.
it does. And keep in mind, this is all happening as Chinese competition looms in the electric vehicle market, adding more pressure.
So they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the mandates, and then you've got the market realities and the competition.
Yeah. And to be fair to Kalenda, he doesn't let Stellantis off the hook. He says this is about internal mismanagement, particularly under that former CEO, Tavares.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. He calls out this massive buildup of unsold cars in the U.S. under Tavares, right?
Right.
And he suggests that points to a flawed strategy.
He does. He says this is poor execution, decisions made within the company,
Yeah.
not something dictated by government policy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this exchange in the interview. Manca insists that Tavares' departure was amicable and that the overall strategy is staying the same.
Right.
Kellen just finds that hard to believe,
Mm.
given the performance.
So basically, we've got these two different narratives,
Mhm.
like Stellantis saying, look, we're adapting to the market and regulations. But then you have critics like Calenda saying, no, this is mismanagement and broken promises.
That's a good way to put it. And within that context of conflicting narratives, the human cost of this whole transition becomes even more important.
And that's where the interview gets really powerful. You can hear Calenda's frustration. He confronts Monca about the severance pay being offered to laid-off workers, just 500 euros,
Right.
compared to, the exit package Tavares got.
It's a stark contrast, right? And it really underscores this feeling, at least from Calenda's side,
Yeah.
that there's a disparity in how management and workers are being treated during this upheaval.
And it's not just Stellantis employees. They talk about Trasnova, that company that handles car movements for Stellantis.
Right.
They're facing layoffs too.
Yeah, this is a good point. Trasnova's situation really shows how these decisions at the top
Yeah,
affect the entire supply chain, a much wider circle of workers.
absolutely. And while Manca doesn't initially seem to want to acknowledge any errors,
Hmm.
Calenda really pushes him, and Manca does admit to a mistake.
about that letter encouraging employees to buy expensive cars like Maseratis.
Oh, right, right.
It might seem small, but it speaks volumes.
Especially when you think about the financial strain many of these workers are under. It makes you wonder about Stellantis's leadership, you know?
It's a question that keeps coming up in this material.
It does, and it leads to this other interesting thing. The whole Maserati case.
Mm-hmm.
Manca seems to struggle to answer basic questions about Maserati's production.
Yeah, and Kalenda points out that Maserati has declined by 70% from
Oh,
its peak production.
that's huge.
Yeah, and he attributes that to this lack of new models and failure to keep up with consumers.
It's just surprising that Manca doesn't seem to know this stuff off the top of his head.
Right.
I mean, he's head of HR.
Yeah.
You'd think he'd have a grasp on production levels.
Yeah, especially since it impacts the workers so directly.
Right. And Kalenda obviously sees that disconnect because he ends the interview by issuing this challenge. He demands that John Elkann, the Stellantis chairman, appear before Parliament to answer for the company's actions.
Yeah. Kalenda's basically calling for accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Since Manca says the strategy isn't changing,
Right.
he wants Elkann, the one responsible for that strategy,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to answer for its impact.
It definitely raises the stakes. So in this first part of our deep dive, we've seen how Stellantis is navigating this turbulent global auto industry, facing pressure from government, from the market, even its own workforce.
We've also seen how those pressures have led to these really different narratives about who's to blame for the challenges facing the Italian auto industry and its workers.
Right.
And I think this sets the stage for a deeper look at what this all means for the future.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've established that the Italian automotive industry is kind of at this crossroads, right? Facing this big shift towards electric vehicles,
Right.
but also grappling with all these internal and external pressures.
Yeah.
So what does this mean for the future? Is there like a light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, it's definitely complex, but I wouldn't say it's hopeless.
Okay.
These sources you sent actually offer some interesting potential paths forward.
Okay, I'm listening. What kind of solutions are we talking about?
One of the key things is greater investment in innovation,
Okay.
especially in the electric vehicle sector. One note you shared mentioned solid-state batteries.
Oh, yeah. Those were really cool.
Mhm.
They're supposed to be less polluting, faster charging, Right. safer, and have a greater range than the lithium-ion batteries we have now.
Exactly. There are still some technological hurdles, of course,
Right.
but the potential is definitely there. And this note argues that Italy, with its history of engineering and design,
Yeah.
could be a leader in this.
It makes sense. I mean, think about all the iconic brands, right? Alfa Romeo, Ferrari, Maserati. There's a legacy there.
Right. It's about taking that heritage and applying it to the future. But innovation isn't cheap, and it takes time.
So that's where government support comes in, right?
Yeah.
And not just in terms of money.
You got it. The sources suggest a more nuanced approach,
Okay.
one that encourages investment and the right behavior from these companies.
Like Stellantis.
Yeah, like Stellantis. It's about creating a framework that supports economic growth and responsibility.
So a win-win. Policies that help companies go green, but also protect jobs and innovation.
That's the goal. But let's not forget the human element. We can't just talk about the future of the industry and ignore the workers, right?
Absolutely. So what are some of the proposed solutions to help workers during this transition?
Retraining programs are mentioned a lot.
Okay.
The idea being to equip workers with the skills they need for these new jobs.
In the electric vehicle sector.
Yeah, exactly. Invest in human capital alongside the tech.
Makes sense.
And it's not just retraining. There are also these suggestions about incentivizing companies to invest in those regions that are heavily dependent on the auto industry.
So instead of just shutting down factories and moving, find ways to repurpose them.
Yeah. Keep those opportunities in the same communities.
It sounds good, but is it realistic? Can you really retrain laid-off auto workers for high-tech jobs? And will companies really invest in these regions when they could just move production?
Those are very valid questions.
Yeah.
And there are no guarantees. Retraining takes time. It takes resources. It's not always successful.
Right.
And companies are always going to want to maximize profits.
Of course.
But I think it's important to remember that this is still early. You know, the choices we make now, the policies, the investments, will all have a big impact on how this plays out.
So it's not just about adapting to the changes, it's about shaping the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that requires everyone working together, the government, the companies, the workers.
Yeah.
We need to move past the blame game we saw in that interview,
Hmm.
and find some solutions that work for everyone.
It's a tall order, but that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, right? We're not
Yeah,
just analyzing a situation, we're trying to understand what it means for all of us.
I agree. And those sources you shared offer some valuable clues about what that future could look like.
Okay, so as we head into the final part of this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways for our listeners?
I think it's crucial to understand that this shift to electric vehicles isn't just technological, it's societal.
Okay.
We're going to have to rethink how we do everything,
Produce, consume.
consume, interact with this technology. And it will have ripple effects everywhere.
So it's not just about swapping gas cars for electric cars.
Right.
It's about rethinking the whole transportation system.
Exactly. It's about charging infrastructure, the materials for batteries, the impact on the power grid,
Yeah.
and the social and economic impacts.
It sounds like we're just scratching the surface.
We are. And that's why it's important to keep exploring these issues, keep asking questions, keep pushing for solutions that are both innovative and fair.
You know, that interview with Monca and Calenda,
Mhm.
it really made me think about the distrust between Stellantis and the workers in Italy.
Yeah, I think that distrust makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, from the workers' point of view,
Yeah.
they've seen jobs go, factories close,
Right.
promises broken.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they're carrying the burden, and those at the top are benefiting.
Right. And then from Stellantis's perspective,
Yeah.
they probably feel like they're being attacked.
Yeah.
They're in this crazy global market,
Mm-hmm.
having to adapt constantly.
Yeah.
So they might say they're just doing the best they can.
It's complicated, that's for sure.
It is, and it just shows how important communication is.
Right. Without trust,
Yeah.
you can't find common ground.
Okay, so how do you even start to rebuild that trust?
It's tough, especially after that interview.
Yeah.
It takes both sides being willing to listen,
Mm-hmm.
admit mistakes,
Mm.
be open about plans.
Yeah.
Stellantis has to show a commitment to their Italian workforce.
Not just say it, but do it.
Exactly. Maybe investing in those retraining programs we discussed.
Yeah.
Finding different production models that could keep jobs in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Being transparent about their decisions.
And the government,
Yeah.
they need to make policies that help with electric vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
but also protect workers.
It's finding that balance, right?
Right? Between the environment and fairness for workers.
Yeah.
It's not easy
But it's so important if we want a good future.
for the planet and the people on it.
Exactly.
So after all this, what's the biggest takeaway for you?
I think it's realizing that this isn't just about cars.
Okay.
It's about how our whole society is changing.
Hmm.
The decisions we make now about cars, about the industry,
Yeah,
they'll have an impact for years to come.
for sure.
We have this chance to make a better future,
Yeah.
but it requires changing how we think,
Mm-hmm.
working together, not fighting.
So true.
It's serious, but it also means we have power. You know,
Yeah.
we can shape the future,
Mm.
but we have to be involved.
Informed, engaged.
Yeah, and demand better from our leaders, even from ourselves.
Absolutely. So to everyone listening out there, here's something to think about. If Stellantis doesn't change, what happens to those workers in Italy? What happens to their industry? Could this fight change how we handle these huge shifts? Not just in Italy, but everywhere. Keep digging into these questions because this is a conversation we all need to be having. Your voice matters. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Oh,